Welcome back. Let's have a quick recap for our red MikroTik group R1, R2, R3. So let's connect to our R1. In our previous video, we have configured OSPF as our interior gateway protocol. So we did go to routing OSPF. We have created the instance. Then we have the area. I have renamed the area to be OSPF backbone area to put some clarity. Then interface templates. So for R1, so loopback ether 2 going to router 2, ether 3 going to router 3 is not passive, so with a priority of 250. However, for ether 1, ether 4, ether 5, we don't expect any OSPF routers in this interface. As such, the interfaces are configured as passive. A quick check on the OSPF neighbors that are formed. So on R1, we have R2 and R3 with the router ID of the loopback interface as our OSPF neighbor. If we go to R2, so at R2's perspective, we have R1 as our neighbor, and at R3 perspective, so R3, so if we go to neighbors, so we have the neighbor R1 on our R3 router. To save some time, I have configured the blue group or the R4, R5, R6 routers. And if we go into one, let's go to R4. And we have the instances, OSPF instances configured. So LO, loopback, ether 2 and ether 3. Ether 2 going to router 5. Ether 3 going to router 6, and the same ether 1, ether 4, ether 5 are passive interfaces. So if we take a look at the neighbors, so I have the neighbors router 5 and router 6. In our R5, we go to routing OSPF and we go directly to neighbors. So we have router 4 as a neighbor, so we can also add in our column the router ID, so it is carrying the loopback address of the router 4. If we go to router 6, so routing OSPF, so go to neighbors, so it has one neighbor which is router 4. And if we go to IP routes, so R6 will have those OSPF routes. So for example, R4 has learned through OSPF the loopback address of router 4 and router 5. And finally, just a quick look on our green group R7, R8, R9. So we'll just take a look at R7. So in our router 7, so if we go to routing OSPF, and you'll have the neighbors. So let's add the router ID column. So you'll have the router 8 and router 9 as the OSPF neighbor of our R7. So if we go to IP routes, and it should also learn the OSPF routes, which are, for example, the loopback of 8 and 9. So this is 7, so it should learn the loopback of 8 and 9 as well as the networks of 8 and 9. So in order to progress in our video tutorial series, we need to at least have some basic grasp on what is an autonomous system number. So this video tutorial will cover what is an ASN, some high-level ASN in action, and finally we round up with how to configure ASN in MikroTik. An autonomous system number is a collection of IP networks and routers under a single administrative entity. It serves as a foundational building block of the internet, enabling efficient routing and interconnectivity between large networks. So we have the website of IANA.org, the official website. So Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. We have the Autonomous System or AS numbers. So these numbers are used by various routing protocols, and it is allocated by IANA to the various RIR or Regional Internet Registries, AFNIC, APNIC, ARIN, LACNIC, and RIPE NCC. So if we have to see or scroll below, so we have the AS numbers and to which RIR they are assigned. So we have 16-bit and 32-bit ASNs, and we have also public and private ASNs. So if we go back to the IANA website, so we have the 16-bit autonomous system numbers. So we have these numbers, and we have also the 32-bit autonomous system numbers. So these are the numbers. So we have another website that we could refer to. So this is from CloudFlare, so radar. So we could get some routing information for a specific AS number, but there are several choices and several countries that we could select to. So for the purposes of this video, close to this topic or related to this topic is the AS of MikroTik. So from Latvia, so AS number 51894. So it has three prefixes, IPv4 and IPv6. So if we scroll down, so these are the prefixes that this AS number is announcing. Okay, so announced by AS 51894. So if you do a ping to, let's say, MikroTik website, so it should be one of the prefix here. And lastly, we have this website, RouteViews.org. So these are route view collectors. So you could select from various nodes. So you have these locations. Okay, so up to your choice to take a look and experience looking at the AS numbers. So for example, just select the first one. So BGP, then summary, then submit. Then it will have the type of query, but we are mostly interested on the AS. So 3582 from this one, and that is the neighbor IP address. So we have from a different node. Suppose that we want to know what are the prefixes announced by this AS. So 13335, CloudFlare is the description, and we have 32934, so we have meta. So if we edit our query, so let's say that AS number, so 13335, so you will see all the network prefixes by this particular AS number. So let's take a look at this one. So to double check, so for example, for the 1.0.0.0/24 is the AS number, and really from CloudFlare. Then lastly, the 32934 query parameter. So if you take a look, this is the path, and these are the network. If you want to go is via this AS number path, so 31 and all of these network prefixes. So if we take a look, one of this 31.13.24.0/21 and is from AS number 32934 or from Facebook Incorporated. Before we go to our R1, R2, R3, which are version 7, so on several versions ago, so version 6.49.7 for example, so if we go to routing, BGP, and instance tab, you will see that after the name you'll have the AS number. So if you double click, you'll have the AS number that you can put in for your configuration. So remember, in version 6 you can go to routing, BGP, and instances, and you'll have the AS number. So in version 6, once more, so instances, this is your AS number, and if you proceed further in BGP configuration, that will be our next video in the tutorial series. So if you go to peers and click new, you will then configure the remote AS. So that is the AS number of your peer router or peer BGP router. So the other side AS number. Now let's put them side by side. So left side is your version 6, right side is your version 7, which is your R1. And if you take a look at routing BGP, then there is these instances and all of these tabs, so including the peers tab. But if you go to a version 7, which is R1, if you go to routing BGP, so you don't have those tabs anymore. So the tabs are connection, templates, sessions, and VPN. So again, version 6 on the left side, version 7 is on the right side. So there's no instances anymore here. There's no peers tab anymore that we could configure in our version 7. Back and focused more on our version 7. So if we go to routing BGP, so you have connections tab, templates, sessions, and the VPN. If you go to connection, if we click new, so you'll notice here that you have some templates. So a template will give you that configuration already, like for example the AS number, the router ID, etc., and you could use it on your connection. So if you click new, and we can select a template. So perhaps let's just provide an example. So again, this is an example. So for our R1, it will be on the next video. So again, this is just an intro or a primer on autonomous system numbers. So if we click new, and let's say the name will be sample, and let's say this is 88, although the AS number for our lab not be 88. Again, this is for sample purposes only. So let's say this is 172.3100.88. Again, this is not the router ID for R1. Again, for sample purposes only. So to give you just a feel on the AS number. So the name sample for the template, the AS for this template is 88, and the router ID is this ID. Then you click new, you can also create more templates. Then back to connection, click new. So you could have the name of this connection to which router that or peer router that you want for descriptive name, and as such the comment. Then under the template, you could select that particular template. Again, we don't need to put the AS number, AFI, router ID because it's already there. That's the purpose of the template. So let's say we have a remote address. Again, this is a fictitious address for this example. Let's say this is 99. Then the remote AS will be 99. And if we scroll down, we have this local role, which is for example IBGP. Let's leave it, okay, and click OK, and let's take a look. You see an error here, invalid remote AS and local role combination, because you take a look at your remote AS, which is 99, and the template. So if you double click, the AS number is 88. So there is mismatch, or it detected that the AS are different. So you are from AS 88, you're trying to peer to a remote AS 99, and that will not be an IBGP connection. We come back to our V6 router just for comparison. So we don't have the connection, but we have the peers. So similar, we have the name of the peer and remote AS, but if we go down and scroll, we don't have that local role setting wherein we could select whether it's IBGP or EBGP. So in V6, we don't have that setting under the peer. So back in our V7, so you have in the red here, invalid remote AS local role. So although it says invalid here, but it's green, or perhaps colored red. But if we simply change the local role from IBGP to EBGP, again, this will be discussed. So internal BGP and external BGP. So it will be discussed in the upcoming videos, because we are now going towards the BGP configuration in our demonstration. So if we correct the role, so click OK. So we have another error here that cannot listen to incoming connections, so missing local address. So again, this will be taken care of once we are on the configuration proper. So let's just obliged to this error. So local address, so let's have it 172 on our fictitious IP. So we are fictitiously on 88 and connecting fictitiously on 99, which is the remote address. So click OK, and hopefully there's no error, there's no invalid now, and there's no that red message. But again, the purposes of this video is for you to know the placement of our AS numbers and the purposes of this AS number. So autonomous system 88 is, for example, this is this router, and we will be connecting to, whether it's the same AS or a different AS. So it depends on the configuration that we will do. So for example, the remote AS has a different address. Let's say we put it on 88 remote AS, so 99, and we'll have the remote address and local address stay put at this as is, and let's just stay put as local role. Click OK, and you still have this error because you need to change it, and detected that you are coming from the AS88 and doing a remote AS to the same AS. So perhaps you should change the local role. So click apply or click OK, and you'll have this.